When a professor mocked a black student's accent in front of hundreds of classmates, he thought he'd get away with it. But when the dean walked in, everything changed in a way nobody saw coming. Welcome back to Wealth and Wounds, the channel where we uncover untold stories of injustice, resilience, and redemption. If you believe in truth, equality, and standing up for what's right, then hit that like button, subscribe, and join our growing community. Let's dive into today's story, one that will leave you questioning how far prejudice can go and how justice sometimes arrives when you least expect it. Amara Johnson had been at Lincoln State University for only 3 months, but she already felt like an outsider. Every day, she walked across campus with her head down, clutching her books tightly to her chest, avoiding the stares of classmates who whispered under their breath. Her soft Nigerian accent made her a target. She heard it in the way other students mimicked her voice or exchanged smirks when she answered a question in class. Still, Amara had worked too hard to get here. She'd left behind her parents, her home, and a life of comfort in Lagos because she'd earned a full scholarship to one of the best engineering programs in the country. But that morning, as she walked into Dr. Harold Garrison's lecture hall, she had no idea she was about to be humiliated in front of 200 students. Dr. Garrison was a man who thrived on intimidation. A tall, silver-haired professor with a booming voice, he ruled his classroom with sarcasm and condescension. He had no patience for hesitation, especially from students like Amara, who spoke with what he called a thick, distracting accent. Amara slid into a seat near the front of the lecture hall, clutching her notes nervously. Today was presentation day. Students had been assigned to present their semester-long research projects. For Amara, this was more than a grade. It was a chance to prove she belonged here. She stood when her name was called. "Miss Johnson," Dr. Garrison announced, his voice laced with disdain. "Let's hope you've worked on clarity this time." The class chuckled. Amara's heart pounded, but she took a deep breath and began her presentation. "Good morning, everyone," she said softly. "Today, I will be presenting my research on the structural integrity of—" "Louder, please," Dr. Garrison barked. "We can't understand you with that accent of yours." The laughter grew louder. Amara's cheeks burned. She tried again, speaking slower, clearer, but Dr. Garrison cut her off again. "Oh, no, no, no," he said, waving his hand. "This is America, Miss Johnson. If you can't speak English properly, how do you expect to be an engineer?" The room went silent for a moment. Even the students who often mocked her looked uneasy. Amara's hands trembled, but she stood her ground. "Sir, I am speaking English." Dr. Garrison slammed his hand on the podium. "Sit down. I'm not wasting everyone's time. You clearly didn't prepare." Her stomach dropped. She had prepared. She'd spent countless nights in the library perfecting this presentation. She'd rehearsed every line until she could recite it in her sleep. Her humiliation was complete when the professor turned to the class and said, "This, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens when universities lower standards." Gasps filled the room. Amara's vision blurred with tears. She wanted to run, but something inside her told her to stand still. And then, the door opened. Dean Evelyn Carter walked in. Dean Carter was a legend on campus, a woman of power, intelligence, and authority. Her sharp eyes scanned the room, landing on Amara first, then Dr. Garrison. "What's going on here?" the dean asked, her voice calm but firm. Dr. Garrison straightened. Dean Carter. Just teaching a lesson about humiliating a student in front of 200 others?" She interrupted, her tone icy. The professor faltered. Dean Carter turned to Amara. "Are you okay, Miss Johnson?" Amara swallowed hard. I was just giving my presentation." The dean nodded. "Go ahead. Start over. I'd like to hear it." Amara's hands shook, but she took a deep breath and started again. Her voice trembled at first, but as she spoke, she saw the dean's encouraging nod and found her strength. She clicked through her slides, explaining her research on bridge structures and material strength with confidence. The glowing graphs and diagrams she'd worked on for weeks illuminated the screen behind her. By the end of her presentation, the room was silent, not out of mockery, but awe. Dean Carter clapped slowly. "Outstanding work, Miss Johnson. Truly exceptional." Amara blinked back tears. Dean Carter turned to the class. This is what brilliance looks like. And shame on anyone who judged her based on her accent. Intelligence knows no borders. Her words echoed through the hall. Then she turned to Dr. Garrison. Herald a word. Now, the professor's face turned crimson as he followed her out. Whispers filled the room. Students who had once mocked Amara now stared at her with wide eyes. A few even approached her to apologize. But Amara was numb. Hours later, she was called into the dean's office. She feared the worst, but instead, Dean Carter smiled warmly. Miss Johnson, she said, you're one of the brightest students we've ever had, and I won't tolerate anyone tearing you down. Dr. Garrison will be taking a leave of absence. Amara gasped. You're firing him? The dean leaned forward. I'm making sure no student feels the way you felt today. And I'm recommending you for a scholarship extension and a paid research assistant position. Tears streamed down Amara's face. You don't need to thank me, Dean Carter said softly. Just keep proving them wrong. The next day, the entire campus buzzed with news of Dr. Garrison's sudden leave of absence. Students who had once mocked Amara now whispered her name with admiration. But not everyone was happy. That evening, Amara found an anonymous note slipped under her dorm room door. You think you're better than us now? Watch your back. Her blood ran cold. She held the note in trembling hands, not realizing that her fight for respect had just begun and that someone was willing to go to dangerous lengths to silence her. She read it over and over until the words blurred. Her fingers trembled as she turned the paper over, hoping for some clue, but there was nothing. No signature, no handwriting she recognized. Just the threat. A week ago, she was invisible. Now, after standing up to Dr. Garrison, unintentionally exposing him to the dean, she was suddenly a symbol of something bigger. Some students admired her courage, others resented it. And one of them, apparently, wanted her scared. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every sound outside her dorm window made her jump. She checked her door twice, then 3 times, making sure it was locked. The next morning, she arrived at her engineering lab early. The halls were quiet, but she felt eyes on her. She walked quickly, clutching her bag. Then she heard it. A whisper. Scholarship girl. She spun around. 2 students leaned against the lockers. She recognized them, Tyler and Bryce, both from her class. They'd laughed the loudest during her humiliation in front of the lecture hall. Relax, Tyler said, smirking. We're just joking. Yeah, Bryce added. No hard feelings. You're famous now. Amara tried to walk past them, but Tyler stepped in her way. Hey, he said, his smile fading. You know, some of us work hard to get into this school. We don't just get handouts. Amara froze. She'd heard comments like this before, but not this direct. I earned my scholarship, she said firmly. Tyler's jaw tightened. Sure you did. Bryce chuckled. Careful, Ty. She might get you kicked out, too. They both laughed as she pushed past them. By the time she got to the lab, her hand was shaking. She tried to focus on her work, building a scale model for her research project, but her mind kept replaying their words. Later that day, she went to see Dean Carter. The dean listened intently as Amara described the note and the hallway encounter. This is serious, Dean Carter said, leaning back in her chair. You did the right thing telling me. Should I go to campus security? Amara asked softly. I'll handle it for now, the dean assured her. But Amara, you need to be careful. When you challenge power, some people feel threatened. Keep your head high, but stay aware of your surroundings. That evening, Amara was walking back to her dorm when she noticed something strange. Her door was slightly ajar. Her heart pounded. She was sure she'd locked it that morning. Slowly, she pushed the door open. Her books were scattered on the floor. Her desk drawers were open. Her research laptop was gone. And taped to the wall was another note. You don't belong here. Amara's hands shook as she called campus security. Within minutes, 2 officers arrived. They dusted for fingerprints, asked her a few questions, but seemed unconvinced that this was anything more than a simple theft. Probably some random kid looking for electronics. One of them said dismissively. But the note, Amara started. The officer shrugged. College pranks. Kids can be mean. Her frustration boiled over. This isn't a prank. Someone broke into my room. They promised to look into it, but left without much urgency. That night, Amara sat on her bed, hugging her knees. She worked months on her research data, and now it was gone. But then she remembered something. She had backed up her files on a cloud drive. Whoever stole her laptop wouldn't be able to erase her work. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. And she wasn't wrong. Across the street, in a parked car, a shadowy figure watched her dorm window through binoculars. The next day, Dean Carter called her into her office again. "I've been doing some digging," the dean said, her expression grim. "Dr. Garrison wasn't just suspended. He's being investigated for misconduct. Several other students came forward after your presentation." Amara's eyes widened. "I didn't mean to." "Amara," the dean interrupted gently. "You have nothing to apologize for. But you should know, Dr. Garrison is furious. He blames you for everything." The dean leaned forward. "And I believe he's behind these threats." Amara's stomach dropped. "What?" Dean Carter nodded. "We can't prove it yet, but I've seen this before. A man in power gets exposed, and suddenly the whistleblower becomes the target." Amara clenched her fists. "So what do I do?" "You keep doing your work," the dean said firmly, "and I'll make sure you're protected." But protection wasn't enough. The harassment escalated. Anonymous emails flooded her inbox. Her social media accounts were hacked. Rumors spread across campus that she'd set up Dr. Garrison to get ahead. She stopped eating in the dining hall, too afraid of the whispers. She stopped walking alone at night. One evening, after a late study session, she stepped outside and froze. Her research model, the bridge she'd spent weeks perfecting, was smashed to pieces on the steps of the engineering building. A third note was taped to the wreckage. "Quit, or next time it's you." Dean Carter insisted on moving her to a safer dorm and assigning her a security escort, but Amara was done being afraid. She decided to fight back. Late at night, she combed through campus surveillance footage she had access thanks to her research assistant job. Hours of grainy footage blurred together, but then she saw it, a figure in a black hoodie slipping into her dorm building the night of the break-in. She zoomed in. The face was blurry, but the walk was distinctive. She recognized it. Tyler. Amara's heart pounded as she took the footage to Dean Carter. The dean watched silently, her jaw tightening. "We'll handle this." But Amara wasn't satisfied. "No, they want me scared. I'm not hiding anymore." Dean Carter studied her for a moment, then nodded. "All right, we'll do it your way." 2 nights later, campus security set up a sting operation. They planted a new laptop in Amara's dorm room, along with hidden cameras. Amara sat in the dean's office, watching the live feed, her hands trembling. Hours passed. Midnight came and went. Then movement. The door to her dorm creaked open. The hooded figure slipped inside, heading straight for her desk. When he pulled down his hood, Amara gasped. It wasn't Tyler. It was Dr. Garrison. The disgraced professor rifled through her drawers, muttering to himself, "Little girl thinks she's better than me. Ruin my career." He yanked the laptop cord out of the wall, and that's when security stormed in. "Hands up, Harold!" Dr. Garrison froze, then bolted for the door. Chaos erupted. Officers tackled him in the hallway, handcuffing him as he shouted obscenities. Amara watched the feed, her heart pounding. She should have felt relieved, but something felt wrong. Why had he risked everything to come back for her laptop? Later, in the dean's office, the truth came out. "We found an external hard drive in his car," Dean Carter said. "He's been hacking into student files for years, stealing research, selling it to private firms. Your project, your data, was worth thousands of dollars." Amara's jaw dropped. "He was stealing my work?" The dean nodded grimly. "You exposed more than his bullying, Amara. You exposed a criminal operation." News of Dr. Garrison's arrest spread like wildfire. Amara was hailed as a hero, though she didn't feel like one. She just felt tired. But as she walked back to her dorm that night, something made her pause. A car was parked near her building. Inside, a man in a black suit watched her. When their eyes met, he smiled and drove away. Amara's heart sank. She realized this wasn't over. Dr. Garrison might be gone, but someone else, someone even more powerful, was now watching her. To be continued. What would you do if you were Amara? Would you stand your ground or leave campus for safety? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Wealth and Wounds because part 2 will uncover a conspiracy even bigger than Dr. Garrison's schemes.